Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. We're on air again. MVP Summit is behind us. The world has changed dramatically for a lot of us, and we're on the Ecosystem Show. Andrew, how are you?
The world has always changed for you, Mark. Like it's always like every couple of weeks that we
I know,
go
man.
without
I'm just,
recording an episode, and then
yeah,
Mark, the world has changed.
I'm in massive absorption mode at the moment.
What was your highlight of? This is a leading question, but what was your highlight from MVP Summit, as to the extent that you can share?
Yeah, hanging out with you, of course.
Well, I mean, that's not even that. So, what's your second choice?
Hanging out with you, of course.
Oh, great. Okay. All right. Well, I think we can move on. We can
Okay,
move on.
so I suppose the highlight for me was the clarity that I feel Microsoft is settling into an AI rhythm that is not reactionary.
Hmm.
I feel
That's
this,
very
they've
interesting.
gone through 2 years of jamming Copilot into everything and
Hmm.
getting their branding and go to market it's kind of definitely been a assemble the plane while it's flying feel.
I remember. Do you remember MVP Summit 2 years ago? And that was very much like that was that was the feel. Though MVP Summit 2 years ago, I will say best MVP Summit I've been to because that was when we learned about Fabric.
Wow.
But
Yes.
but anyway, yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, the stabilization. And I feel that, I don't know if it's confirmation bias, but you and I have been talking, all of us have been talking on this podcast for some time now, maybe even a year, the extreme importance of purview in the AI story,
Mm,
the extreme importance of fabric in the AI story, and
yeah.
which is all about data, governance, security. I mean, don't get me started on Entra ID, etc., because that all plays a part in the story as well. Copilot for Security got a lot of push at I feel it at Summit. I just think there's a Microsoft's vision in the space. I just feel it's on par, right, with particularly the purview and the fabric story, which
Hmm.
enables then everything else.
Yeah. Well, so interesting that you mentioned that because it is this week is FabCon or the
Yeah.
Fabric Microsoft's Worldwide Fabric Conference.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't be there for family reasons, but I'm quite sad to have missed it. I would love to try to make it next year.
Yes.
One of the things that I think is emerging. And this is a story that Microsoft has been kind of trying to tell for a couple of years since Fabric was released.
Mm-hmm.
But let me go back to last summer. I was working with a client, working with an organization that is they're a big enterprise financial services organization. They are the extreme of multi-cloud. I mean,
Yeah.
they've got everything in there. They have a data platform they've built with AWS. They use Microsoft 365. They have Copilot for M365. They dabble in Power Platform. They have ServiceNow. They use SAP. I mean, these guys have they're building AI workloads in the Google
Mm-hmm.
cloud. So
Mm-hmm.
this
Mm-hmm.
thing is this organization is that's a decision you can make, right? But the problem that they were really wrestling with is that wow, we've backed into this multi-cloud world.
Yeah.
How do we bring all of this together? How do we bring all this together for use with AI? So the one thing that I knew I couldn't do, the recommendation I couldn't make, and for good reason, right? I couldn't say, well, let's rebuild your data platform, right? They've just spent the last several years spending millions of dollars to platform their data platform in AWS. So that
Yeah.
was sort of a constraint that I had architecturally speaking. So I pitched to them this idea of using OneLake, which is a part of
Yep.
Fabric, and
Yep.
I called it the AI landing zone.
Nice.
And my thought was that what we were going to do with OneLake, primarily wherever we could through shortcuts, and OneLake, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
or not obviously, but if you don't know, shortcuts data not just from Microsoft technologies like Dataverse or Azure SQL, but it shortcuts data from Amazon S3 or from Google, from Google Cloud. So my concept was let's use and Oracle, right? So let's use off the top of my head. Do you know? I don't know if there's a shortcut from Oracle off the top of my head. Is that
There's the
one that you
mirroring
use?
technology came out of GA just
There's the
recently, so
mirror.
there's that
Yep.
option, and I don't know if you've seen that the
Yep.
mirroring option for a lot of these workloads, AWS, etc., as well, is that it's
Hmm.
free.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? Which is kind of like it breaks down that barrier of no, I've already done this in AWS, already done this somewhere else. So okay, we'll take advantage of this
Hmm.
free method
Yep.
of
Yep.
still bringing that data in for your AI landing zone. I like it.
Yep, yep. And I just think that this idea of using OneLake as the sort of the final point of data consolidation and the technologies that Microsoft has developed from a shortcutting and from a mirroring perspective, treating OneLake as that final point, right? And thinking of it as the AI landing zone for your data, or maybe the data landing zone for AI, however you want to couch it,
Mm,
it's becoming more and more clear that that is Microsoft's vision and that that is a complete vision or an increasingly complete vision. The
yeah.
world and the technology is moving so quickly today that calling anything complete is a little tough. But yeah, so I don't know how we got on this riff, but it is FabCon this week. It'll be really
Mm,
interesting to see what comes out of it. But I just think that what the other thing that I think makes Fabric and OneLake specifically so unique is that there is no competitor to it.
yeah.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
lakes and there's data platforms but this is one where for all of its faults, and
Hmm.
to me, the only faults I have with Fabric are that it is still a work in progress, right? It's
Yes.
like Power
Yes.
Platform 6 years ago, right?
Mm, mm.
But for all of its faults, it has no competitor, it has no peer. And I think that that's, as someone who has been just obsessed with data platform tech, like when AI really hit the scene 2.5 years ago, and we had ChatGPT that
Yeah.
entered the market, which I cannot believe it's been 2.5 years now. I became a data platform geek far more than I became an AI geek. So
Interesting.
yeah, I'm very excited about it.
Do you know, and by the way, I'm going to couch what I'm going to say is this was not an announcement. Nobody even alluded to it, but one of my strengths is being able to connect futuristic dots in the space and draw conclusions about what I see.
Yeah.
My observation was this is that I think business applications is going away at Microsoft in the next 5 years as we know it now.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
that the Dataverse component naturally will go across to Fabric, right? And that will become part of their suite. I then see Copilot Studio, which I feel is the last thing standing as look what we have inside Microsoft now and Biz Apps, is going to go to M365. And therefore, it seems to be that's the only, the big thing that is on everyone's radar is the value from Biz Apps is the Copilot Studio story, which is
Mhm.
that and the AI mix. So I'm just wondering, I feel in my other observations across Microsoft that M365, a lot of modern work folks already thought that Copilot Studio was theirs. They've already for
Mhm.
some time thought that Power Automate was, right? Because of the SharePoint,
Yeah.
you know, history and stuff like that. They thought Power Apps was because it lit up in SharePoint with that little purple button that said, let's turn this into an app. And so I just see that there's, as Microsoft goes through a reinventing itself as an AI company, which it clearly is, that, you've seen Mustafa come into the business and is the CEO of AI inside Microsoft, the
Mhm.
whole re-engineering, part of the whole engineering org massively got reassigned to him in that move coming into Microsoft. And I'm just wondering if there's this, as they rationalize their business going forward, and AI really blends everything, that I think their
Mhm.
organizational structural models might start to change. And hence for me, I see my career, although it's been a power platform for 21, 22 years now, it's really starting to
Mhm.
lean much more to the data and AI kind of story and the work we're doing.
That's a really fascinating excuse me, fascinating question. And let's definitely, so I have some thoughts that I'll share, but let's definitely explore that on a future episode when we
Yeah,
have more of the posse here, because I'd love to know what Anna, some combination of Anna, Chris, and Will think about that. But
totally.
listen, I have conversations with a combination. Sometimes it's with a kind of a C-level decision maker in a Microsoft customer, and they're considering which technology to invest in. Sometimes it's with a Microsoft partner that is considering which lines of business to invest in and to pursue. Sometimes it's actually with investors who are looking at buying a
Yeah,
Microsoft partner potentially, right? Um, and we invariably we talk about biz apps. Business applications has been an odd fit for Microsoft for a long time, right? Like, remember, Microsoft is a platform company.
yeah,
So, we sort of saw this coming and going, right? Like sometimes when Microsoft was doing really well and really wanted to expand beyond its borders, you'd get a lot of interest in Dynamics. Many of those Dynamics applications were actually acquired by Microsoft. They were not originally developed in-house,
yeah,
because Microsoft felt they needed a competitor to SAP or to Oracle or to Salesforce or to whatever. So biz apps have always been a really interesting fit within Microsoft. First of all, I think that none of the technology within what we think of as business applications, Dynamics and Power Platform, I don't think that technology is going away. I do think that Dynamics is going to be seriously, seriously rethought and not re-platformed is not the right way to put it, but like the whole concept of SaaS business applications are
hmm,
going to be very, very different in 5 years. We've talked about that on other episodes. You do raise an interesting point, though, about Power Platform. So I want to be clear in case anyone from Microsoft is listening to this. I'm not advocating a dismembering of that
yeah,
group or of that team or of that technology. But if you do think about it, Power BI already has a foot in both worlds, right?
yep,
It's branded
yeah,
as Power Platform, but for all intents and purposes, it's owned in Microsoft as part of Fabric, right? As part
yeah,
of the
yeah,
data platform team. Dataverse, I think that it's becoming increasingly difficult to implement Fabric or Dataverse independent of one another, right? So it makes a ton of sense for Dataverse to really be the application, the transactional data orchestrator of the future for Microsoft. And then, for a long time, I've said that the other Power Platform components, Power Apps specifically, really are just a collection of Azure microservices with a marketing
yeah,
label wrapped around it.
yes, yes,
So there's a very, I mean, this is a really interesting hypothetical. I do wonder if the, I do wonder if the face value of low code is maybe going away as AI and AI's ability to do a lot of the things that citizen developers previously turned to low code for,
yeah,
but certainly making some moves there would really help Microsoft in this foot in two worlds issue that it's had for a long time. Is Power Platform for serious application development, which we have long said that it
yep,
is, or is
yeah,
Power Platform a citizen developer tool? Right now, the answer is both, but Microsoft has long had a marketing problem there.
yeah. I think that, like, we're 1 year away now from Power Platform being 10 years old, right? 2016 when it came out. I know the nomenclature came out of Power Platform in 2019, but the tooling was
It was
there. It
called the
just got
BAP,
all,
Mark, the BAP, the
yeah,
Business Applications Platform,
yeah.
BAP.
And I just think that, will Microsoft 365 become a platform? Maybe. In the time ahead, is that it's just your positioning. I don't think any of the tech's going to go away. I think it's becoming very mature now. It's a proven thing.
Yeah.
It has massive scale, massive companies that use it at phenomenal scale, and so it's bedded down now, and it's not something we're trying to sell as the new thing. And I
Yeah.
do believe, though, within 5 years, the concept of menus, of lists and things, and the way we display data will just not be a thing anymore, because you'll be able to get directly, with AI and things like that, to what you need without having to navigate and go, oh, it's in this
As
table, in this location, in this area.
as the hamburger once gave way to the ellipse,
Yes.
now the ellipses shall give way to nothing?
To the microphone.
To the microphone.
Yeah. It's exciting times. I had some good side discussions around red teaming with red teaming folks inside Microsoft, which I think is probably an under investigated area for a lot of companies. And, I spoke at the Canadian Power Platform Summit and did really my first foray into presenting on AI as, publicly after 2 years of consumption in the space. And we talked about trustworthy AI. And
Mhm.
really, I referenced a lot the white paper, that you wrote, you released in Vegas last year. And I just see once again that is now really becoming into a mature model, in that organizations need to understand that it's not just about building a use case or a workload, right? It's so much more. Rigor needs to be put around this. And another talk track that came out a lot was, for the first time in software development, the need for legal risk mitigation has never been higher, or has never been, like, I can think of all the projects I've been involved in the last 21 years. At no point did we go, listen, we need to get a lawyer involved in what we're doing. Never.
Yeah.
Yet in AI, I feel that is definitely a conversation that's happening more.
No, totally. And I think that the relationship between lawyers and technologists is really going to be changed significantly. Really going to be changed significantly in the coming years. Funny enough, I know a guy who is a lawyer, went to law school, lawyer by trade, who actually then went and learned to write code and is now a software engineer. And he's a fascinating guy, right? Like from that perspective. But
Yeah.
one piece, I have my advice for lawyers, particularly if you are you might be a partner by now, right? I think probably the sweet spot are partners or very senior associates, counsel, that type of thing, that type of
Mm.
area time in your career where you have the juice and the knowledge, the background knowledge to explore new things and to potentially build a new practice. But you're not so far along. You're not a managing partner, right? You're not so far along where if you decided to redirect yourself to the field of AI law, law and regulation pertaining to AI, that, somehow at your firm, the financial services practice would come toppling down. So if you're a more junior partner at your law firm, I would be seriously considering branching off and seeking to become a leader in the legal and regulatory landscape
Yeah.
around artificial intelligence and to build that practice within your firm. On the flip side, if you're a technologist, you need to figure out how to have a better relationship with lawyers who specialize in this realm.
Yeah.
Not that you have a bad relationship, you probably have no relationship. But yeah, I think that the legal, regulatory, and ethics of artificial intelligence needs to be baked into the
Yeah.
platforms that you are deploying and the workloads that you are building from the get-go, not treated like, oh my God, we have to go defend ourselves if there's a catastrophe.
You wrote a post last week around trustworthy AI that you published on LinkedIn, which I think is very poignant at this time. I also wrote a post because I just felt so motivated coming off my flight back from the US around and it's something that we had discussed in the work that you've been doing in the UN, and around human rights implications of
Yeah.
AI. And and more than ever, under the moniker of ESG, we've done very good on environmental piece, but the
Uh-huh.
social and governance piece is kind of like, oh yeah, we don't really like, how does that work? Even in Microsoft's, industry platform suite, which they have a whole sustainability ESB, it's all on the S, but there's very low referenceability on the social part of ESG or the governance part. And I just think that in history, we stand at a point where, I'm not going to say that capitalism is broken, but we need to relook at it in the lens of massive advantage scale that you get with tech and AI that has never been seen in
Yeah.
history before, where 2 or 3, Sam Altman said last year, February last year, that we are going to go into a period of time where we're going to see one person assisted by AI create $1 billion company. So the labor of one person assisted by AA creating $1 billion business.
So I went and I found this line, this sentence that I wrote in that post, which we should do an episode, maybe next episode, where we really dig into this post in more
Yes.
depth, because I know we're going to have to end this here in a moment. But what I wrote is, we must prevent AI's maladies graduating from the realm of inaccuracy to significant financial calamity, and again from financial calamity to the facilitation of, for example, cybercrime or sex trafficking.
Yeah.
And what I was trying to set up in that line, in that thought, was that um, a lot of folks, when they think about, when an individual thinks about what could go wrong with AI, we often think, oh, I mean, this data, this response that AI has returned to me is crap, right? Like, I
Yeah.
know that it's wrong, or I know that it's misleading. So you graduate, like, the maladies of AI graduates from simply being inaccurate or wrong to something that is going to cause a significant financial calamity to whoever owns it, right? Like,
Yeah.
so this is the chatbot. I think it was Air Canada. They don't quote me on that, right? The chatbot that taught someone how to reprogram a car, or not to reprogram a car, how to hijack a car, right? So, and then the company was found liable, right? So you go from inaccuracy to financial calamity, something that an organization would be very deeply concerned with, but then to things that we as a society need to be deeply concerned with, right? And the examples that I gave were the use of AI to facilitate cybercrime or sex trafficking. And these are, I think, very real. They are very real scenarios. They are very real possibilities. It's something that United Nations human rights is very concerned about. But
Yeah.
I think that there's a huge human rights dimension to what can go wrong with AI.
Now, just on that statement that Andrew said, I did a fact check quickly. It wasn't Air Canada that did the reprogram of the car. What Air Canada did that the courts upheld is that they must honor a refund policy that their chatbot had issued, and they tried to say it was a
There you go.
chatbot, it wasn't us. And the courts held no, you must do it. The actual crossover there with a chatbot, how to hijack a car, was another organization. It wasn't Air Canada.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. Thank you for that. We have live fact checking here that was actually done by a human, but I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure AI assisted.
I think this is all we've got time for. We've got so much more to explore, but thank you for joining us. If you remember, in the show notes at the top, you can leave us a voicemail. That means your voice. We'll put it on air. And if you've got questions, you want areas to us to explore, drill into, we're so keen to hear your ideas and opinions on these subjects. So with that, Andrew, good talking to you. Ciao for now.
Bye, guys.